Who says billion-dollar ideas can't come from small places? Meet Yve-Car Momperousse, Haitian-American founder and CEO of Kreyol Essence, the clean beauty brand turning Haiti's resources into hair, skin, and wellness products loved around the world. Alongside her co-founder Stephane, Yve-Car built Kreyol Essence from scratch, reviving the production of Haitian black castor oil, empowering local farmers and women, and putting sustainable Caribbean beauty on global shelves.
Often in Caribbean and African countries, we tend to downplay the riches that we have because often we're told we're poor, we're uneducated, we're unsophisticated, and that what we have requires someone from an external community from the West to come in to make it have value.
But despite selling out in stores, she faced the same struggles many Black-owned businesses do, fighting to be seen, to be funded, and to be taken seriously.
I had $1 million PO here from Ulta. I had a $500,000 PO from Whole Foods. I had it all there, and everyone's like, you're still a risk. You could invest in that tech founder or somebody else who just has an idea. I have actual people willing to pay me, and I'm the risk.
Then came Shark Tank, the opportunity of a lifetime. Kreyol Essence became one of the very few beauty brands to ever step on that stage, and the world took notice. From Shark Tank to placing products on shelves in Whole Foods and Ulta Beauty, Yve-Car and her partner have proved to be top contenders in the beauty space. But the rise to the top is more than just a business story. It's a story about the resilience and potential of Haiti. So get inspired by a story that's as bold as the island that started it. Check it out on this episode of Black and Borderless. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Black and Borderless. We have a really special guest today. I'm so excited to have her on. I've been super excited about this for the last week since you agreed to do this. So thank you so much. We have Miss Yve-Car Momperousse on today, who is a co-founder or the co-founder of Kreyol Essence, which is a hair body brand and line that sources products from Haiti to produce hair care, skin care, and body care. So we're super excited to have her on today. She's accomplished a lot. Most notably, she appeared on Shark Tank some years back, and along with her partner, her co-founder at the time, and they presented the concept and to much, great reviews and great feedback from the panel on Shark Tank. Since then, her business was already taking off before then, but since then it's taken off even more. So excited to talk about Kreyol Essence today, and more importantly, to talk about Haiti as a source of great potential and what value that can bring to the rest of the world. So happy to talk about both of those things today. So welcome, Miss Yve-Car Momperousse.
Thank you so much, Kate. I am excited to be here. I love meeting fellow women in the diaspora, from the diaspora, who are sharing narratives and shaping culture by making sure we are educated, that we know each other's stories, and that we can lift each other up. So excited to be here today and to speak with you.
Likewise. So let's get right into it. Imagine you're giving a TED Talk, right? Centered on your journey as a Haitian-American founder in this agribusiness and personal care space. What would the topic be?
The topic would be, what if the next billion-dollar idea came from a rural place in the Caribbean or Africa, and it came from a young girl, from a Amashan or someone in the marketplace who just knew a good product, who just knew a great ingredient, and they turned that into $1 billion business? What if that's where the next innovative, world-changing idea came from, and it wasn't in the tech space, and it didn't have to do with AI?
No, that's really interesting. So it's almost like it's a TED Talk centered around ideas coming from the least likely places, right? Like all ideas are not born, in Silicon Valley or, in this kind of AI tech space that we've all kind of found really sexy for, in terms of Black founders. But there's a rural area somewhere in the Caribbean where there's $1 billion idea waiting. That's really interesting.
Yes. That would be the TED Talk idea.
And that's, I think, a nice segue into talking about the inspiration for Kreyol Essence. Is that little girl you, or are you speaking about other little girls who have the potential to do that?
I would say both. I am that little girl, and there are little girls out there and young boys who are coming up with the next $1 billion idea. And they may not even know it's $1 billion idea, because it's not as if I knew that Kreyol Essence had the potential to be $1 billion business, or for it to even be as impactful as it is right now. I think often in Caribbean and African countries, we tend to downplay the riches that we have, because often we're told we're poor, we're uneducated, we're unsophisticated, and that what we have requires someone from an external community from the West to come in
Mm-hmm.
to provide, to make it have value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think what I've learned along the way with Kreyol Essence is that things that are right in our culture, right in our backyard, if we give it value, we are allowed to shape the narrative. We are allowed to present it as a solution to problems that many in the West have. And that becomes a billion idea, because $1 billion ideas means you're solving something for a mass population of people.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about our cultures, when it comes to medicinal ancestral knowledge, that is science, but we often discard it as something that is an old wives' tale. It's
Yeah.
just something our crazy aunt, made us do, but there's no value to it. But if we get curious enough and we can backtrack and look at the science for it. So, for instance, for Kreyol Essence, I did clinical studies, and it is proven to help with hair growth and to help with dermatitis, eczema, and psoriasis. But that's because I took the time to listen to ancestral knowledge and marry it with science. And that's when the magic happens. It's when we value our own culture and our own traditions.
No, that's really, really powerful. I think that's a really nice segue into talking about how you came up with this concept for Kreyol Essence. So what inspired the birth of Kreyol Essence? Was it a sudden kind of realization, or was it like a series of small awakenings or small discoveries?
Yeah. I like to say, I could sit here and say, I'm just so intelligent and I could just see the path from the beginning, but that's not how it happens usually in entrepreneurship. I think it's a set of things that occur. The first one is that I was going to an event. I wanted to look my best because I was in the market for a husband. So I decided to straighten my hair and go to this conference so I could find said husband.
Mm-hmm.
I found my partner at the time, which was Stephane, and who's my business partner. But when I washed my hair the next day, it all fell out. So after crying like any good millennial, I called my mom and I said, "What's that oil you used when I was growing up that solved all of our problems?" And she was like, "Oh, l'huile mascuti." And I said, "Oh, I live in Philadelphia because I was at the
Mm-hmm.
University of Pennsylvania. I should be able to find this easily because this is a diverse neighborhood."
Mm-hmm.
But when I went into stores, everything I found had hexane, it had bleach, it had other additives. It wasn't the oil that I was accustomed to. So when I asked my mom to send me some from what I call the immigrant stash, the things that you can't get readily available here,
Yep, yep,
it
yep.
was in a rum bottle with tape all over it. And I looked at it, I said, "God, which means like, what is this? How is it that something that is so important in our culture, we all have it? It doesn't matter what color, what range, what economic class, everyone has this bottle in their house. How is it that something we know works, you can't find it readily available at a store?" So I was joking and I was like, "I should start a business out of this." And my mom was like, "Actually, you should."
Hmm.
And we started to explore the supply chain. The fact that, working to create the castor oil. Well, I'm like, well, where does the castor oil come from? Well, it comes from a seed. So it's like, we'd have to work with farmers to plant the seed to have enough to make the oil. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, well, I don't know how to make castor oil. Who makes it?
Mm-hmm.
And it is women from a time honored tradition who have the roasting knowledge, who understand the process, the time honored tradition to extract the oil. So I was like, so I could have a whole factory and it's women run and women led. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that's kind of cool.
Right,
Then I was
right.
like, well, where am I going to sell this at? I live in the US, I'm in Philadelphia. So I was like, well, I'm looking at the stats. Women are talking about dry hair, curly hair, textured hair, alopecia. Every stat is pointing to the American Dermatology saying that women's top two beauty complaints are dry and damaged hair, followed by dry and unhealthy looking skin. I'm in the School of Government at Penn. So when we talk about, well, how do you help shape a country? Well, they're like, well, what's going on with the GDP? Well, the gross domestic product, that's about exporting and imports. Well, in Haiti, we have a trade imbalance. We import everything and export nothing. So my little castor oil could be a major driver of exporting things out of the country. And then lastly, I'm a beauty junkie. I love beauty products. I still do from head to toe. It's something I love. So this marriage of, helping with impact and beauty is how Kreyol Essence was born. And because I needed to solve my own beauty dilemma. And that's how Kreyol Essence was born today.
Wow, no, that's a really inspiring story. Um, and I love how your mom immediately encouraged you, right? Sometimes you hear those stories when your mom's like, "No, no, no, you're in school, you need to focus on that." But I love how she immediately encouraged you. And was she born in Haiti herself, or she was born? So she was born in Haiti.
She was born and raised in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is probably that quintessential Haitian that is like, I want to go home. I'm here for a short time, not a long time. I'm here to make sure that, my kids grow up and are safe here in the US, but I want to be home in Haiti. And my mom is not traditional in the sense where she, suggested that we get 9 to 5s. Actually, she hated that. She was like, I don't want to raise 9 to 5ers. I want to see you guys create a business and follow in the footsteps of your grandparents and what I did, which was to work hard, come up with ideas, and to sell. My dad, on the other hand, was like, he's a teacher and he's much more practical. So he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We came here so that these kids could go to school. They can go up the ranks. They can get a corporate job and be safe. So I like to say I'm a bit of a merger between both my parents. And even though for the longest I was a 9 to 5er, which I am proud of because it helped set the foundation for when my mom kicked me in the butt and was like, you should really start a business out of this. And all of the elements, all the things that I love and am passionate about came together through Kreyol Essence.
Awesome. No, that's pretty awesome. So you have this idea, you kind of start analyzing the supply chain, you see that it's a problem to solve, not just like for consumers, but for the nation of Haiti, which at that point is importing way more than it's exporting. So you've basically found an export product that can be sold to the rest of the world that comes from Haiti. So you've solved kind of two problems. Why the name Kreyol Essence? How did you land on that name?
Really good question. So, I have my notebook. I'm writing up all these ideas for Kreyol Essence. And I'm with my co-founder one day in the car. And I'm like, I have some, names that we can go with. And I said, but none of these names are speaking to me. And I said, we need a name that is quintessentially Haitian. Something that when you hear it, it represents Haiti without a doubt. So I'm like, so what is the essence of Haiti? And he's throwing out different ideas. I am. And then I think one of us said, the essence of Haiti, Kreyol. And I think he said Kreyol. And I said Kreyol. And then we both started screaming in the car, Kreyol Essence, because it was like, this is the thing that ties Haitians all together, is the fact that the number one language that we speak, the thing that connects us, the thing that expresses who we are more than anything else is our language, Kreyol. Kreyol also means mixture. And this was another friend of mine one day, we were at her house and we were talking about some challenges with the business. And she said, Kreyol means a mixture of things. It compiles different languages such as Spanish, Italian, African dialects. It says
French.
It brings things together, French. So when we think about who we are as a people, we're quite diverse and we have such a rich cultural history. And that's something I thought needed to come out as a brand as well, because we are all shades, all colors, all sizes. Hence why we also have a diverse group of customer base that we can connect with. So that was another thing that we loved about the name Kreyol. It was indicative of who we are as a people.
Wow. Interesting. And you touched on something that we're going to talk about a little bit later, which is your customer base and how diverse it is, right? We'll get to that a little bit later because I have a lot of questions and thoughts around that. So when you started this, you start Kreyol Essence, you have this idea, you're encouraged by family to do it. What fears or doubts did you have when you decided to root your business in Haiti? So yes, we know you're excited about it because it's your country of origin, but did you have any fears?
I don't know that I had any fears about Haiti, to be honest with you. They say ignorance is bliss, and I think, I was in my 20s at the time when I was starting to think about Kreyol Essence. So there was no fear about Haiti. The fear that I actually had to overcome was my own comfort, was my own safety, because I'm working, I think, at the University of Pennsylvania, as well as going to school, and then I went over to Cornell. I'm doing pretty well. I have a six-figure job. I am in a field in alumni affairs where they don't really change people in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
highly vetted and coveted. So I'm like, am I about to uproot my personal life for the thing that I've also worked on my entire life, even before the business, which is Haiti? Because I was in the nonprofit field. I've always been the board chair of the Haitian Professionals of Philadelphia, the National Haitian Student Alliance. Put a Haitian something in it.
You're there.
Throughout college, through an adult, I was doing something
Mm-hmm.
around that. So I think that was the biggest fear, was going 100% all in my country, in my community, and for the thing that I believe in, which is that Haiti is a powerful country that can change the world based on what we do in the country. So that was my biggest fear, not
Yeah.
Haiti.
Yeah. So now you didn't really have a fear about the market of Haiti, but what excited you the most? What was like giving like this kind of adrenaline rush when you're about to, embark on this thing?
Yeah. I would say it's the fact that I knew our community and that the product worked, right? Because it worked for me and my hair grew back. So, this idea that everybody in Haiti is talking about mangoes, coffee, there are just there was no innovation in terms of the agricultural sector of something that could be fun, new, and exciting. Coconuts, everyone went to the same thing. So to me, what was more exciting, I was like, there's nothing like this on the market. And this solves a problem, like you said, for two constituents, which is the producer and the farmer, which is really two groups on their own, and then also the customer who's looking for that authentic black castor oil, that methodology in which we create it in Haiti, that is pure. It's not refined. People are looking for something that's real.
Yeah.
So that is what excited me the most about going on to this venture, because I don't like to do or repeat something that's already on the market or something that I already see people doing. That's a critique that I have when I see folks do it in, small communities of color. It's like, support someone if they're already doing something, give them advice on how to do it correct, and then find your own idea
Yeah.
and create that, and then they can support you, so that we don't have this mentality where
Mm-hmm.
we're fighting each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you have this business, but what I'm seeing here is like, apart from the actual business concept, a real passion for Haiti, right? That preceded this concept. Well, it inspired the concept and of course preceded it. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about where this kind of connection to Haiti came from. Obviously, we know that your parents are Haitian immigrants who moved to the US, but where did you grow up?
So my first few years of schooling were actually in Haiti. Born here in the US, and then, like I said, my mom is like, "Peace out, US. We're going back home." So we get back home to Haiti, and my first few years of schooling is there. Then the political situation becomes untenable, and my dad says, "We can't raise two girls here. We should go back to the US." Go back to the US. And even though, now I remember my first day of kindergarten, because I had to repeat kindergarten in order to learn English. I can hear my teacher asking me a question, and I had no idea what she was saying. And there was another Haitian little girl who was just like, "Limado non, Zilki no," which means, she's asking you your name. Tell her your name. And I'm like, Yve-Car.
That's
And
funny.
So I had to go through the process of learning English again, or learning English. And then I also found myself in still a Haitian culture, right? I grew up in Brooklyn, in East Flatbush, which is literally little Haiti, just in the US.
Yep.
So my neighbors, my grandmother, everybody in my building on 34th Street, 90% of folks were either Haitian or they were from a Caribbean island.
Mm-hmm.
So that in that way, Haitian culture was never far from me. The other thing was my dad, like many immigrant families, had the responsibility to bring in his mother, which was my grandmother, his 4 siblings. 2 of them
Mm-hmm.
stayed in Haiti, so then he had to bring in an additional one, 5.
Mm-hmm.
He was in charge of making sure that once they got to the country, that they settled in, learned English, got a job. And then my dad also was very involved in the community. Besides the fact that he was a teacher in Brooklyn, he also started one of the first GED courses to help Haitian and other French-speaking immigrants get their GED so that they could go on to get jobs or go into additional schooling. As a result
Wow.
of that, he also was the one that people called for every type of resource. He was his own hotline. So I grew up hearing metla, which means like teacher. Where do I go to the doctor? Like asking random questions. And it's not something I really paid attention to until later on, when you're analyzing your life and talking to your therapist. Figure out, who are you? I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm just like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I saw growing up, is that he was a resource for the community and he was someone that people came to.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, which was something I didn't necessarily pay a lot of attention to, my mom was the businesswoman. She was the one, when she walked in a room, something was going to get done. There was always a job for you to do. So this idea that, you could sleep in on a Saturday morning, oh, no, no, no.
Doesn't exist. No.
That does not
Yep.
exist. If you
Yep.
are not doing something scholastic, you are doing something physical, you're going to dance class, or you are going to be with family. There was always something to do when mom was around, because that is how she thought. So that was a bit of my surrounding. And I have a sister and 2 brothers. And that was the family nucleus. And then we had aunts, uncles around. So I really felt like the culture was never far from me. Fast
Mm-hmm.
forward, my grandmother being here was, I think, pivotal for me because she did not speak English.
Mm.
My grandmother died at 105 years old. She died maybe 2 years
Wow.
ago. And I was responsible for her. If my dad had to go to work, he's like, I'm dropping you off at the hospital with your grandmother for her checkup. I need to go park the car. You're in charge
Mm-hmm.
of her, make sure she's okay. So imagine
Mm-hmm.
having that responsibility at like 7 or 8. And I remember the first time, my dad hadn't gotten back yet to the hospital, and a translator was sent to translate for my grandmother. And my grandmother said something, and the translator did not translate it specifically. And I said, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. That's not what she said. And the translator's looking at me like, who is this little girl? And I'm like, I speak both Creole and English. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first time I had to advocate for someone I loved when I felt like they were not being treated or represented accurately. And that is,
Wow.
again, a theme that went on in my life and in my work in nonprofit management, is that you need to be there to advocate for those who you love. And it is a gift that we can be multilingual to speak for both them and to our counterparts here in the US. So
Mm-hmm.
that gives you a little bit of a flavor of my background and growing up in New York.
No, that's great, because in that story, I see how you got to this, right? How you got to Kreyol Essence, all those things, being an advocate, being a resource. You basically become an advocate for your country of origin and for farmers in that country who are producing, these castor seeds and, producing this product. So it's all reflected. And I think that's basically with anybody who looks back on their purpose and where it kind of started, although they didn't know they were living it at that time when you were a kid because you weren't self-aware enough. But when you look back, you realize that you started living out your purpose very early on. And all of that was to prep you for this kind of ultimate moment. So that's really interesting. So let's switch gears a little bit. So now we've talked about, how you started the business, the background that kind of led to that, starting from your childhood. Let's talk about what it's like being a founder. Now you're in the thick of it, right? So as a founder, how does that duality, being this bicultural, multilingual person, how do people receive you when you approach them by Kreyol Essence, given that you come from these kind of two worlds? And I want to take it like stakeholder by stakeholder, and you tell me how you feel like you're being received, giving your bicultural identity. Okay, number one, let's start with American investors. And I'm going with that because of Shark Tank. So I'm going somewhere with that. So let's start with American investors. When you approach them, so non-immigrant American investors, probably,
Could we start with, because before I get to American, we got to start with our own people first.
Okay, let's do that.
We got to start off with, because I didn't approach American investors first, I approached our own folks. And I thought that was important because often when you have an idea, you need to make sure that you validate it. And the way to validate it is to see, will anyone buy your product? So it was foreign to me, this idea that you go to an investor first. Do you have a product that is selling? Do you have a business methodology that you can, really say, yes, I have customers? So the first thing is, in the Haitian community, there's often this feeling that Haitians don't support other Haitians, right? And you hear that again. Black people don't support other Black people. This person doesn't support the other person. So the first thing I was like, would my community support me? So I remember sending out my first email, because e-commerce is where we started. We're a digitally native brand. I sent out the first email to say, hey, Kreyol Essence is open. To see, would anyone buy the castor oil? And I have to say, I'm extremely proud of my community. We are one of the companies that can say our community supports other Haitians and supports their own. Now, I started off pulling out the castor oil out of my bag, going to conferences to also hear, was there a story and how did people really take to the product? And everyone gave me a story about their childhood, about how their grandmother used it. So that information is what helped us come up with our marketing and help us understand how to talk about the product. So those were the first stakeholders that I wanted to get buy-in from, right? Then I remember when we start talking about investors, I didn't start off with traditional investors, right? Because I came from the nonprofit development space, and I was doing so much work in Haiti, in the country, the first investors were development actors. It was the IDB, the International Development Bank. It was USAID. It was the folks that you had to write a 50-page grant for in order to show that you had a viable social business, that your business was not only going to create dollars, but it was also going to have impact on the community. And that first time I wrote a grant for the USAID, it was the first time I got turned down for a grant, because I was a grant writer for the AIDS Coalition of Southern New Jersey prior. And when they said no, I was like, I don't get it. They're not seeing it. Then there was a pitch competition. So then I was like, all right, let me try this again. Let me not get in my feels. Let me not get in my feelings that I was turned down. Let me go and pitch the product. And then Stephane, my co-founder, he's with me. We set up a booth. We have the products there. So simultaneously, while I'm pitching the products, they are seeing people line outside the door to buy the product, right? And then I remember when they said to me, you got the grant. And they said, it's because now we see it. We could not conceptualize what you were talking about on paper, but seeing how people are flocking to buy this product and all the stories and all this excitement at an international development conference, we now understand what you're trying to do and can help you think through how this will have a positive impact on the country. So those were the first set of investors I went to, and the first people I went to get that, to validate the idea, was my community.
Wow. No, that's really interesting. And now, just because of what you're talking about, I think it's a nice time for us to touch a little bit on your Shark Tank episode, right? One of the female panelists,
Lori or Barbara?
I think Barbara, and her feedback to you was like, love your personality, like you, Yve-Car, you sell the product based on your personality. I don't know if you recall that feedback.
I do.
But, the product requires too much explanation and education. And the reason I'm bringing that up because you're talking about this experience where, you know, the way you wooed people or potential investors or donors was that they saw literally firsthand people lining up to get your product.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a big barrier for you in most cases when you're trying to solicit funding? Is that if they don't know, if they don't have any kind of cultural reference for the product or for castor oil, if they don't see it live like that, then you can't convince them or persuade them. Is that your general experience?
It is a general challenge when you are dealing with white investors who are not familiar with the landscape. One of the things, and I said I have to write about this, is I remember, so we've had rosemary mint castor oil since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Now, many people might know Mael, that sold for $600 million plus, right? And what was her number one selling product?
Rosemary. I have that on my shelf right now. That's why. Yeah.
And I remember that specific product, an investor coming to tell me and saying, well, what's so different about this? What's so unique?
Mm-hmm.
There's a rosemary mint craze now. Now every brand is adding a rosemary mint to their lineup. So what would have happened if they had invested in me? Would I be a $1 billion brand right now that is helping Caribbean countries and also helping to create new innovative products on the market? Why did Mael succeed? Also, she had a Black investor. She also was turned down several times by mainstream investors, but Rich Low Dennis, who was the founder of Shea Moisture, understood the market and invested in her. And now we see the progress and the beauty, pun intended, of what it is when you have investors who understand your product, what it solves, and the community that you serve.
So let's talk about now. So we're talking about the investor side. Let's talk about your consumer base.
Yes.
So in a 2021 interview with Glossy, you mentioned that your primary audience is people of color who already have a cultural reference for castor oil. Basically, people we just finished talking about, right? While your secondary audience includes women of all backgrounds, of all shades, who are dealing with hair loss and similar conditions. Do you ever find it challenging to balance appealing to people of color and non-people of color when it comes to your product?
Absolutely. And it's not because I have a challenge with it, it's because people have a challenge of what it means to be inclusive, right? Diversity means there are a bunch of different types of people there. Inclusion means that we're bringing people together and we're able to coexist in a positive way. So I referenced before that Kreyol means mixture. You can have a Haitian person who looks like me, dark chocolate fabulousness, just like us, but you can also have someone of Haitian descent or someone who's Haitian who looks, their phenotype is white, blue-eyed, straight hair. I grew up seeing that, so to me that's very normalized. Also, my personality is such that I like to connect with like-minded people regardless of their phenotype. And I was the director of diversity at Cornell. Stephane grew up in Boston. You know, we like to joke that our friends is the united color of Benettons. There's everybody from everywhere. So this idea that I can't tell my white friend about the castor oil if she bleached her hair and she needs the castor oil to help it grow back. I can't tell my friend who probably fries her hair, both black and white, or Latina, who straighten it, because there was a time where that's what we did, that they can, help to repair their hair and get the life back in their hair by using one of our products. That doesn't make sense. That's not actually cultural, and then that's not who we are as a people, especially when we talk about Haitians. But that's something I often have to remind people. And even when you look at some of our affiliates and those who endorse the product, they also are from all different backgrounds. And what I like to say to my tribe, and the tribe is Kreyol Essence. We don't really call, our peeps customers. We call it a tribe or a community. I said, we're not going to do what others have done to us. If we've been ostracized we're going to show that we can be inclusive. There are some ground rules, though. You in my wheelhouse. You're in our community. Respect is mandatory. You may ask questions, but do so politely. But this is a family and we welcome others into our community. And for
Mhm.
us to grow and for us to have the respect and be well renowned as a Haitian culture, we can't just talk to ourselves.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
to talk to your Jamaican friend. You have to talk to your Latino friend. You have to talk to your Asian friend. And again, I grew up in Brooklyn. Every single type of person was in my high school.
Mhm.
So I think part of being authentically Haitian and part of being authentically a New Yorker, there's no way I was going to single out and not allow others to come in to the conversation. Lastly, when I think about who some of our white customers are, they are also, or someone who's not of Black or Haitian descent. These are folks who are recovering from cancer. They're on chemo,
Mhm.
right? They have some skin ailment where they need the most natural product possible to not counteract some of the medication they're on. So you mean to tell me that someone who has just spent, a year or two fighting for their life, I don't want to give them a bottle of Real Masquisi? That's the gift. That's the gift of being Haitian, to say we have something that can help you. And that creates a different correlation and relationship with the country. So the big thing from a development idea, or when we were talking about our TED talk, if we're going to change Haiti from being known as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere to the country that has some of the richest agricultural lands, that has some of the purest oils like vetiver, which is world renowned for perfume, and everybody in their mother, Jean Gaultier, such and such and such, they want to have that oil. It's because it's coming from a source that does not have some of the additives that are added when farming, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So this is the big idea, and we can't do that in a vacuum. When you are certain about who you are from a cultural perspective, you don't have a problem bringing others in, because now they're
Mhm.
going to walk to the beat of what you are setting, and they're going to help you, when we think about allies, get to the next goal. So that
Yeah.
is my view and my personal take when it comes to inclusion, and why Kreyol Essence will always have, a diversity of people who are part of the tribe, but that tribe is following Haitian cultures and customs.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, and I'm gonna throw my opinion in here because I do that because I can do that
Yes, you
on this
can.
show.
It's your podcast, girl.
It's my fact. I can do that, right? I think that's where true power really lies for Black founders. I think the first phase of empowering Black founders was to get them a platform to get their products out there and to have a voice. The second phase is that um, as a Black founder, I don't have to limit my consumer base to just Black people or people of color. In fact, there's more power in saying that I have a person who's not a person of color who has no cultural reference to this product. Try it. And that's how we grow as a business. That's how we scale. And so small is not synonymous with Black business.
Yes.
Niche is not synonymous with Black business. So um, I'm going to
Right,
agree
because
with
my
that
niche
point
is not
fully.
Black. My niche is scalp care.
Yes.
That's
Your
my
niche is scalp
niche.
care. Yes.
Scalp care.
Yes.
That's what I'm here to
Yes.
solve for people. Is you
Yeah.
have a scalp ailment, you have a skin condition, your scalp, it's part of the largest organ in your body, and we're
Mm-hmm.
looking to help you with dermatitis, alopecia, with all the ailments that really have an impact on people in their day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a valid question because we've seen brands like Shea Moisture experience this. The reason why this question even came to mind for me, for you, is because I remember some years back when Shea Moisture started featuring white women in their ads, and they posted that ad on Shade Room, and women like went in on this ad, like, "Oh my God, we can't have anything. We can't have." I'm like, "But no, a Black business is growing.
Yes.
Like, is that what we
Yes.
want?"
Yes.
I mean, as long as you're not alienating your customer base or diluting your product for the people who are early adopters of your product, who are usually people of color, I don't see why you can't extend your brand beyond that. So that's why that question came up, because I just wondered if you, as a Black beauty founder, if you've come across that issue.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that is different probably from us than Shea Moisture is that we've always been very intentional about featuring, and that's the thing in being authentic. I can have all Haitian models and affiliates and brand ambassadors, and they are authentically Haitian. They can speak the language, the culture, they grew up there. They all look different. You
Yeah.
cannot come tell this person that they're not Haitian. so
Yeah. Yeah.
so that authenticity, I think, is important. Second, when we think about the reaction that our communities tend to have towards seeing others coming into our space, I also understand that. When we have been kept from great products that work from us, we've had to try everything. We've had to make it up as we go along. When
Yeah.
we were deciding our distribution strategy, I was going to go to the beauty supply store. I'm from Brooklyn. That's what I know. And
Mm-hmm.
Stephane, my co-founder, was like, well, you know how they follow you around in the Asian beauty supply store sometimes, and you don't feel like you're getting the treatment that you want? He's like, I don't want that for you. He's like, you work at an Ivy League university and you're sitting there talking to multi-million-dollar donors. You
Mm-hmm.
should go somewhere to be able to get your hair done the same way your white colleagues do when you're in Manhattan or in the city, and get your products and have a great experience. So he's like, what if we make sure where we sell the product, that's the experience our customers get? And that's how come our first
Mm-hmm.
retailer was Whole Foods. Whole Foods is not the beauty
Ah.
supply store. That was 10 years ago. There weren't
Mm-hmm.
black products sitting on there on Whole Foods shelf, but we
Mm-hmm.
wanted, whether you're white or black, and especially if you were someone of color, when you walked into Whole Foods, someone would say, good morning. How can I help you? What is it that you're looking for? So all that, we were very intentional about how our core customer base is treated, because to me, our tribe, they are kings and queens. When a
Mm-hmm.
customer is around, I'll forget everybody, because the tribe is here. They have a question, I need to answer it, because I am so appreciative. The company is here because of the tribe.
Mm-hmm. 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 No, no doubt, for sure. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. So let's talk about how you're interacting with other founders who are in this beauty space, other Black founders, I should say. So
Ooh.
you mentioned Mael, yes.
Uh-huh.
T coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How has your rapport been with other Black founders who are playing this kind of beauty personal care space?
Mm-hmm. I would say overall, it's actually been pretty positive. And here's why. I would say there are different tiers, or I think cohorts, right? And I like to say that my cohort, for the most part, we're in this together. We got to share resources. And 2020 was one of those pivotal moments where, as founders, we needed to be able to lean on each other because it was scary,
Mm-hmm.
right? We didn't know what way the world was going. And when we think about supply chain, because people see a product on a shelf and often they're not aware of what it takes to get that one bottle,
Mm-hmm.
that one
Mm-hmm.
bottle you bought for
Mm-hmm.
$15 or
Yeah.
22 to get
Yeah.
it on the shelf. It's almost like doing brain surgery, quite honestly, because you're everything from that bottle, from that cap, to the label, to the oil, to the shampoo, all of that is coming from different places, and then you've got to get it onto the shelf. So in 2020, when things were, it was like, well, can we stay open? What are the rules? Where do we get caps from? How do I get product onto shelf? There became small groups of founders who would get on calls together, and we would help each other by sharing resources, by sharing bottles and caps, and by encouraging each other, because more than anything else, it was a mentally anguishing time frame. And e-commerce was booming, which meant we were working 14, 15-hour days. Some folks, they were at home chilling, lounging, working on their computer. We
Me.
opened up a factory we opened up a warehouse in Little Haiti, because our 3PL, and the 3PL, they are the folks who usually will send products out and mail it on behalf of a brand. When they couldn't do it, we had to do it, because we were like, our customers are getting their products. And for some folks, it was almost the only thing that they can control in their life. You can't control your kids being home. You can't
Mm-hmm.
control the fact that your in-laws live with you. Your house
Mm-hmm.
is a
Mm-hmm.
mess, and you are stressed out. But you're like, you know what? I just need my shampoo. I
Yeah.
just need that moment in the bathroom, getting myself together. That is my luxury moment. That is my mental health, my self-care moment. So when we saw how people if the product was late, how they were reacting, we knew it was more than that. So
Yeah.
we started off, now we had dance classes virtually. We had talks virtually. We had watch parties. We had to do more than just be a brand selling a product, right?
Yeah.
We had to
Yeah.
take care of our tribe. So 2020 was pivotal in that way, and founders also got together. But I will say this, it is a difference between white founders and founders of color. And that is a cultural reason, because we are taught not to talk about money. That's rude. You don't do that in communities of color. We are taught to keep your information private. You are taught to be humble, keep your head down. Nobody needs to know your business. Nobody needs to know your challenges. We're
Yeah.
supposed to just figure it out on our own. Whereas my white founders, they're like, hey, Evie, what was your EBITDA this month? Did you just ask me my profit margin, sir? What you trying to do? Are you buying me? But it is such regular parlance to talk about numbers, and they'll be like, well, what is this vendor charging? Oh, you should try this vendor. It is so different.
Wow, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
In the Black community, it's called, somebody being in your pockets. Like my mom used to say,
Why?
right? Like,
Well,
why are you in my pockets? Why are you asking me about, what I'm
Yes.
making or whatever? Like, you get suspicious. But that's interesting how you've seen this cultural difference in how white founders operate.
Yes.
And how has that changed your business? Do you feel like it's exponentially helped your business grow? Just that kind of transparency and information sharing?
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. We started Kreyol Essence in a time when there was no information available, right? I couldn't go and just Google a manufacturer. You could probably do that now.
Yeah.
I couldn't Google and say, hey, how do I get to the Ulta buyer? So I have to rely on the information that my fellow founders give me to give me a breadcrumb so I know what to do next.
Mm-hmm,
And that's why I think I'm like, it took 10 years for Kreyol Essence to even be here, and we're still a small company. But imagine we had that knowledge. Imagine we had that information. Imagine we had those mentors who could be like, don't go left, go right. We would be 5 times as big, 5 times more successful, which means 5 times more impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's important when we're thinking about how do we usher in, to your point in the beginning, what is the next $1 billion idea? We need those who understand business to help support, train, and guide, because that is what mainstream white founders have that allow them to accelerate. Last point on that. When I was speaking to a founder, they were like, do you have a coach? I'm like, a coach? What do I need a coach for? Who's paying for that? Who's paying for somebody to come tell me what to do? Okay? That's not cultural. However, they said, read the book $1 Trillion Coach. So all the tech founders that we love, all the athletes that we love, what do they all have? They have coaches. Someone helping to formulate how they think, what moves they make, and how they go about the next step in their business. That's how we accelerate generational wealth, success, and really bring our community up to speed. We can't spend so much time in our own bubble, struggling, figuring things out on our own. We need to ask somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows.
Yeah. To that point, I think that's a nice segue into talking about your Shark Tank episode, because, you're talking about coaching and mentorship. So I want to talk about like how that coaching or mentorship that you got after, getting support from there, how that really helped you or didn't help you. But before I do that, to everyone watching, this is a good time to drop comments. We've touched on a lot right now up until this point, right? So drop comments about, what you feel about, Evie's take on expanding your consumer base or your tribe base beyond just, consumers of color. We'd love your input on all of that. Like, subscribe, all of that. So now let's talk about your episode on Shark Tank, because I know most people know you from there. Let me start with a bold question. Would you do Shark Tank over again if you had the opportunity? And if the answer is yes, would you do it the same way? Would you approach it the same way?
10 times over, yes. Because I didn't actually realize how pivotal going on Shark Tank would be for the business. So sometimes people ask me, ooh, was that a, really smart strategic marketing move? Again, a lot of things I'm not that smart enough to say I calculated and I knew this would be so great for us. I was a founder who had POs before I got to Shark Tank. I had Ulta, Whole Foods, JCPenney, Urban Outfitters. I had just pounded the pavement for a year and a half, 2 years. I have these POs and nobody would give me money to fill these POs. It wasn't an idea. I had $1 million PO here from Ulta. I had a $500,000 PO from Whole Foods. I had it all there, and everyone's like, you're still a risk. You could invest in that tech founder or somebody else who just has an idea. I have actual people willing to pay me, and I'm the risk. So I said, let's try Shark Tank. The other thing is, it was our 5th year in business at the time. And I said, I need to also do this for myself, because I'm not, every time somebody would say, you guys should go on Shark Tank. And me and Stephane were avid Shark Tank watchers, like every day. And we'd be like, I'm like, we're not ready yet. We're too small, right? And that's something that we as founders of color and women tend to do. Not yet, not yet, not ready. Then when? So finding that 5th year, I had that thing is like, you've done all you can, ma'am. Get on that stage. Go try out.
Yeah.
If they say no, that's fine. But it won't be because you didn't try.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got my butt on a plane to New York, to Brooklyn, because I missed the casting call here in Miami because I was running after retailers. I thought Stephane was going to say, stay home. You've been traveling. He's like, ma'am, follow your gut. If your gut is pointing you to the direction of jump on a plane, because that's faith. There was no guarantee. No one paid my airfare to go there. No one paid the hotel. We are broke. And I still had to be like, I have this tug to go do this. So it happened at the Gentleman's Factory in Brooklyn, which I saw as a sign because it was happening in a Haitian-owned establishment in my hometown. And, I'm like, yes, Lord, let's do this.
I didn't even know that. So that was happening at that particular episode was filmed in a Haitian establishment in Brooklyn.
The episode wasn't filmed there. The casting call was.
Oh, the casting call. Wow.
The casting call. So we're running on faith, adrenaline, and signs, ma'am.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm going to go do this and see what happens. And what I love about our community is, I think there was at the casting call, they give you like the Shark Tank banner. And I just took remember boomerangs when boomerangs were in
yep.
I took a boomerang with the Shark Tank sign. I'm like, I'm going to post this. Our community went nuts.
Wow.
They went nuts. That went viral. It started being shared. I was like, well, tag the producers, y'all. Tagging the producers, they're like, we see y'all. We see you.
And when you say your community, just like just the Haitian community in the U.S. alone?
Primarily the Haitian community, because we posted it on Kreyol Essence Instagram.
Wow.
And that has about 250,000 people on it. And then that's also shared. And then you have, community supporters like l'Union Suite, which also has another 300,000 followers who are sharing it and posting it. And people were excited. And I was like, guys, I'm not on yet. But that just goes to show you also the community love of when you see your own or someone that you can connect with trying to get ahead. And that type of support fueled us a lot. And you saw the Shark Tank episode where it's one of the things that me and Stephane take so much to heart. It's not even about us, but it's like, we can't let our community down. Because it's like, there's not 10 Haitians here, there's us.
Yeah. And you guys he got emotional Haitians about it. He cried.
Exactly.
Talking about it. Yeah.
Exactly. They're going to be like, well, there goes those Black kids. Well, there goes those indie founders, these clean beauty founders who want things to be natural. So when we think about the communities we represent, we kind of put that on our back and we take it seriously. But I also take seriously that our community, even when I didn't know they'd be there, there they go. We're not alone. We come, as 10,000 because we have our ancestors and we have our community there with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that we as like Black immigrants or kids of Black immigrants take for granted. The same things you complained about growing up maybe as a Black immigrant, that sense of community, like, having your aunt have to come stay with you guys and sleep in your bed. That same thing pays you back when you become an adult yourself and you're striving for things, right?
That's exactly it. Because especially if you were from an immigrant, Caribbean, African, you knew what happened when that person just came from the motherland and they were staying at your house for the month.
Yep. Yep. And that's the same person that supported you on Shark Tank and reposted your thing 20,000 times when you wanted to do it. So it's a give and take culture.
Exactly. That mummy from the church.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty awesome story because I didn't even know how you guys got on. I just remember seeing you on and you got, you kind of blowing up after that. So let's talk about post Shark Tank, right? I think people just, at least me sometimes, I assume that, okay, once you're there, you get an offer, you sail off into the sunset, right? Things are great. Has there been a moment ever since your appearance on that show that you felt like throwing in the towel and not doing this anymore?
At least 6 or 7 times, ma'am. 7 times. This is a misnomer that people normally have. And I can't say it doesn't happen that way for other brands, but we've never been the brand where things just happen by mistake or, oh my God, we woke up one day and things occurred. We've had to put effort every single day, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So even after our Shark Tank episode, we had to put a marketing plan together. It didn't go viral by itself. Our community was there, but we had to work with community partners. What outlets, where are you disseminating the information to? People had to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
happening. So we had to work during that time. The other thing is, it's not as if we got a lot of notice that we were about to be on Shark Tank. It actually took a year after we had filmed the episode to hear back that it was going to air, and we got 3 weeks notice.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
A year? 1 year? 12 months?
1 year. 1 year.
Is that the norm for the show, that people usually your episodes don't get aired till like a year?
So a year later, yes, because they're working seasons in advance, and they don't have to tell you anything.
Okay.
So people were tagging us to say, didn't you see your episode promo? I was like, what episode promo? It's the holidays. Christmas is coming. Q4 is busy. I'm packing orders in my house because the business was still in our house. The garage is where we were fulfilling our orders. So when people are telling us this, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I remember me and Stephane, someone was like, let me send you the link. Shark Tank didn't send us the link. The community sent us the link. Wow. And me and Stephane are sitting there in our home in Homestead, and then we look at the promo, and we're both crying now. We're like, I'm like, well, he's like, Stephane's like, something's in my eye. I'm like, something's in my eye too. I don't, and yeah, those allergies here in South Florida really hard. So that's how we found out we like the episode, the promo had even aired.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So you're about to have millions of people watch an episode about you. It could either go right or go wrong. So we're hauling ass. I got to get a full customer service team going. I need a PR team. I'm like, are we doing a watch party? Are we not doing a watch party? Like, we decided all we did, we flew in our family and close friends who struggled with us, who opened up their doors, who let us be on the couch, who said, here's $5,000 when nobody else believes in you, and it's their last $5,000. They're like, we see you guys working 12, 13, 14-hour days. You guys don't stop. You miss holidays. You miss birthdays. We're investing in you. That's who we flew in. It was family in there and L'Union Suite, because they have been a absolutely amazing partner from a media perspective, and they are from the community. That was it. Mm-hmm. That's what we did to celebrate our Shark Tank airing. But I loved when we walked out. Before we even talked, I started seeing my Shopify go ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
And all we did was walk out, and the community was like, it's real, y'all. They're there.
Wow.
They are there. Wow. Viewers went up, and that was the moment I had to take in. And like, my business partner had to hold my hand, and he's like, we did something.
Yeah.
Right? But that was not easy, and the work had just begun. Because now we got to fulfill these orders, right? Because we can't be the Black Haitian folks who, just didn't let people get their orders for, a few months like some of the other brands might be able to do. Mm-hmm, so we're every day trying to make sure that those orders get out. Then we have to make sure, all right, well, now we're sold out on Amazon. We're sold out at Ulta. And I remember telling my Ulta buyer, I told you to stock up. I told you. And they were like, beauty brands don't go on Shark Tank, Yve.
Really? They were saying that to you?
Because then beauty brands weren't going on Shark Tank. Now you can find
I'm like, I can think of quite a few.
You could find 50 beauty brands on Shark Tank now, but before we were one of the few. That's not where we went. I remember one of the VPs at Ulta saying, I don't think you should go there. That's just a waste of time.
Wow.
You have to go with your gut sometimes of what you know and do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
That same exec called back and said, oh my God, I saw the episode. I love it. I absolutely love it. Even we need more product. Where are the products? And that's what you want, right? There's no time for ego there. It's like, well, thank you. We're gonna work hard to get you product. So I was stressed, child. I was stressed because the momentum took. And one of the things I remember the headlines. One of the headlines was, why was the woman negotiating on Shark Tank?
Haha.
I'm
what?
Am I not allowed to speak? Should I not speak? Should I just smile?
Which outlet is that? Okay, you don't have to name names.
But girl, you can Google and find out. But also, that didn't just come from outlets. That also came from our community. I always say the sauce is in the comments. The tea is in the comments. Right?
Yeah.
But I love that also. Shout out to our female empowered, enlightened tribe members who would be like, have you ever run a business? Why are you asking why there were tears from a man and emotion? Do you know what that's like? To put everything out on the field for something and take a risk?
Yeah.
And who negotiates most things in a household?
Yeah.
Healthcare, shopping, budgeting. It's usually a woman. So why are we even surprised that in a business deal that a woman is the one negotiating?
Yeah.
So I thought some of those comments were fascinating. It revealed how we think about women and men's role, even in 2020.
Yeah.
2021. So it was the best thing, but it also did not happen by accident. We had to work it. We still work Shark Tank so that folks could know about it. But I'm so grateful that it is a testament to us being a real brand. But sometimes it also saddens me. I was like, so what if I didn't do Shark Tank? All the things prior to Shark Tank, would they not matter?
Yeah.
You know?
What's your answer to that question? When you ask yourself that question, do you feel in your heart that if you hadn't done Shark Tank that you wouldn't be where you are? Do you think you would have gotten there another way?
I would have gotten there another way, ma'am. Because when I'm on a mission for my community, it's unstoppable. Clear as day is what needs to get done. When there's a will, there's a way. Especially if we receive so many no's. That's like a day-to-day occurrence, is us receiving no's. And then when the success happens or something positive happens, everyone's like, oh, I knew this was going to happen this way. Or I knew they were going to go far. It's like,
yeah.
But whatevs.
Yeah, no, that's the nature of any business or any endeavor. There's always someone who comes in the end and said they always knew that you were going to do it. So, Yve, let's talk now about your legacy. As we're kind of closing out our convo, I really want to talk about what legacy you want Kreyol Essence and yourself to leave behind. Before we get there, in terms of evolution, are you considering expanding your supply chain beyond Haiti?
Really good question. No one's ever asked that question before. Why'd you ask that question?
I ask it because this is a show that we have. On this show, our viewers come from all over the African diaspora. And of course, we have viewers on the African continent. So I always ask that to founders I bring on this show, because I want to kind of know what their plans are for other predominantly Black markets and how they plan to empower those markets, if at all. You don't have to, but do you have plans for that?
Now, I appreciate the question. It's actually a big part of Kreyol Essence's blueprint, right? So some might have heard me say it's about a blueprint for poverty alleviation around the world. That's a big thing that was quoted. And, Kreyol Essence was my thesis at Cornell University. And I studied international development with a focus on agriculture and rural development, which means that we want to see a Kreyol Essence-like type of business all over the world, solving for huge economic and social issues through capitalism, through business. So we do plan to expand and source in other places and in other countries where we feel we can have an impact in those communities. And that's the next chapter, next iteration of Kreyol Essence, taking our learnings from Haiti and bringing it to other parts of, I call it either the African continent or other Caribbean countries, or even right here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
located right in Miami. We're in Little Haiti. When you walk into our warehouse and office, it's a bunch of black and brown folks in there. And that is important because the beauty industry is primarily white. If you think
Mm-hmm.
about supply chain, that's primarily a white industry that folks go into. So just by us existing in the beauty space, we're changing things up, making sure that our customer base, our tribe, that they get science-backed, clinically tested, approved products. That in itself is changing the game because I don't know any other black-owned brands doing clinical testing for the consumer base. You find
Yeah.
that mostly for the mainstream customer base. So that means we are looking to make sure that our impact or our legacy, even though I don't like the word legacy, I don't think about legacy in that way. Well, when we get to that, I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
how do we help people here and now, and how do we
Yeah.
continue to inspire people. If someone was thinking, you know what, I have this business, I don't want to start it, they could be like, oh, I just saw Yve-Car and Stephane. They look like me. We're not more
Mm-hmm.
brilliant than anyone else. They're like, oh, I can do it too. That's the biggest compliment. So we're ready to take over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And I think that's interesting that you don't like the word legacy. I think we can have an episode 2 about that. Because I think that's that's a whole nother debate, or a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, Stephane loves the
So
word legacy. He'll tell you all the legacies Kreyol Essence is gonna build. I'm like, what we doing now? What we doing today?
what are we doing right now?
What we doing right now?
Which is kind of technically a part of your legacy, right? I mean, legacy manifests in the now, right? Like what
Yes.
you're doing now to lead up so that 20 years from now, people can say X about, the mark that you left. And nice segue into, we're going to have like a little fill in the blank game real quick before we close out. So in 20 years, Haiti will go from being the blank of the Western Hemisphere to the blank of the Western Hemisphere.
In 20 years, Haiti will go from being known as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere to the most powerful, sought after country in the Western Hemisphere, to understand how to bring agricultural products to life around the world, to empower farmers, women, and production in the country.
Wow, that's powerful. And that's a big promise for a little island, but a little island that's proven so many times over in history that it can overcome just about anything. So from your lips to the Most High's ears, for sure, for Haiti. And with founders like you who are pushing, the country forward and who are promoting it on a global scale, it certainly probably could be possible. So Yve-Car, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming to join us. This has been a really great conversation. One of the best I've had, definitely on this show. So thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to add? Anyway, where do we go find the product? Like,
where do we find the product? All right, everyone, I ask you to go to www.kreyolessence.com. When you buy on our website, you are supporting us directly. And we just launched our Save Our Scalp line.
Okay.
And we are super excited about our SOS line because we are taking the power of Haitian castor oil, which is clinically tested, and we are mixing it with biotech ingredients, the one called Redensil, which has been proven to help with hair growth. So if you are using minoxidil and you're dealing with all the after effects like the dryness, the itchiness, you're having an allergic reaction, try our Save Our Scalp serum. It's been awarded several times, it's been highlighted, and it is proving that Black-owned brands do have science in mind when they are formulating their products. It's not just about things being natural, it's about it being effective, and it works for all hair, skin, and body types. So you can tell your white, Latina, Asian friend, try something Haitian, try something new, girl, try something cute, husband. And you can find us at Ulta Beauty. That's where you find the biggest expression of Kreyol Essence. And if you want your L'huile Masquiti, the Haitian castor oil, what people know and love us for, you can also find that at Whole Foods and JCPenney salons.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yve-Car. Thank you. Loved having you on.